we're also going to be hearing a lot more Halsey, who
That we
has,
are.
I mean, she has been propelling as like one of the biggest pop stars in the world over the last couple of
Yeah.
years. We obviously reviewed her most recent album, Hopeless Fountain Kingdom, in 2017. But since then, I mean, she's all over the place, and her fan base is rabid. People really seem to flock to her and connect to something with her. What do you make of that? Because I don't think you really see Halsey as a great artist.
Yeah, let's not bury the lead. That's a good point. Yeah, this third album, Manic, helped, I think, me focus my thoughts on what Halsey means, like as an artist, what her artistry is. And you know, she was someone that I was not aware of until Closer from the Chainsmokers came out. That was definitely her big mainstream breakout, but she already had a very popular album, Badlands. That was a big Tumblr success and did big numbers on its own already, even though it was kind of in the margins.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hopeless Found Kingdom, which you said we reviewed, I didn't really care for that album. I cared for some of the singles I enjoyed, and I saw her play at Gov Ball coming up in 2 years ago, and I thought she was good, and I was getting impressed with watching some of those Badland deep cuts be performed and hearing the crowd belt out every word. Like, she genuinely has really strong, dedicated fan base, and you have to respect that. And again, we saw the ire of that fan base when Without Me, her number one song, of course, was not recognized by the Grammys, right? And honestly, I think Without Me, it probably was the best Halsey song to date.
Probably.
Definitely her most successful. 5 times platinum, was in the top 10 for 29 weeks. Just really a massive track, and it's on this album, even though it came out in October 2018. Understandable. But yeah, Manic, man. It seems that Halsey's sound is just the sound of what is today. Like, she just changes with the trends. Like, I don't know, when I think of Halsey, I just think of her doing or adapting to, well, what's hot, what's going to be successful today. And she generally does it, I think, decently well, even if I don't know if she puts her own stamp on things. But that's kind of where I've refined my thoughts on it, where that she just kind of goes with the flow. And you kind of see that on this third album, Manic, because she does a lot of different sounds on this. She jumps around and just whatever trends around, she dabbled in it on this album. I think that's what Halsey does.
Yeah, I agree. I think she likes to explore different genres and different sounds, which I think if you pulled off to the effect that she did on Manic, you can get away with it a little bit more. I think the problem with something like Hopeless Fountain Kingdom was her batting average on that was a lot lower, at least in my opinion. And I think what makes Manic such a strong album, similar to what we were just talking about with Selena, is I think what Halsey's mining in terms of content and theme for this is a lot more meaningful. And I feel like she also has a bit more of a cohesive idea for this album. It felt like she really went in wanting to touch on certain things and really tie certain topics around. I mean, she talks a lot about mental health on this record. She talks about a miscarriage she had back in 2015 and how her relationship with that person was affected by that. And there's also, I think, some triumphant songs on here. She's pulling in a lot of different sounds. The couple of the features here. You have Suga from BTS, and then you have Alanis Morissette, like a couple songs before that. Just
Dominic Fike too.
Yeah, she's just kind of pulling from everywhere. But I think I was pretty impressed with this, and mostly when she like stripped things down. I think when she's trying to do too much, it can just be too much. Like you said, when you're just kind of throwing every pop sound you can into an album, when you're doing the most, it's going to sound like the most. When she really strips the songs down, something like Clementine, which has just like a really catchy hook with a really reduced sound behind it.
Sparse beat.
Yep. Or something like I Hate Everybody. Again, just like a catchy chorus with very little behind it and some claps kind of thrown in here and there. It really allows her to shine more. Whereas I think some of the other more produced songs don't come across well.
Right.
I don't know. Any tracks on here you liked?
I actually really like 3 a.m.
Hmm.
It's kind of reminded me of like Avril Lavigne, and
Yeah.
kind of brought me back to when Avril and Halsey performed "Girlfriend." I think like Halloween a few years ago. That was cool. I think that kind of shows like Halsey can kind of again adapt to different molds, and because she ultimately is a really charismatic performer, it comes across well. And yeah, honestly, it really seems like her relationship with G-Eazy and how that ended really kind of focused her as a her focus her mood. But
Hmm.
sometimes I think her songwriting is a little basic still. Like
Hmm.
it's just kind of simple, little rote. It's kind of just it is what it is. Sometimes it gets in the way, sometimes it doesn't. What did you think of the song "Graveyard"? That was I think believe the second single for this. It's a big hit already.
Uh, I'll put it this way: when you said graveyard, I had to really rack my brain to think about it. It wasn't something that stuck with me much.
Yeah.
What was your take on it, though?
Well, it's that thing that she's done before for me, where the beginning of the song, where it's funny when like
Hmm.
her vocal inflection in the beginning, where she's delivering the lines, actually sounds really good, and I like the inflection. And then it just goes into this really produced chorus that's just totally disinteresting. It's kind of like what happens with "Bad at Love," another one of her big hits from the last album, where the beginning, where she's kind of doing almost like a hip hop flow, sounds really good, and then this really over the top chorus comes in, and I feel like the song just falls apart.
Hmm.
That's kind of been my thoughts on "Graveyard" since I've been hearing it on the radio all the time. But I liked Alana's interlude. I actually liked all the interludes. Thought they were more inspired than I expected. A lot of times people just have
Hmm.
throwaway interludes, especially when they're with guests, but that was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you nailed it. The more sparse stuff where she is attempting to be a deeper songwriter, stripping it down, really just focusing on the lyrics, because that's really all the songs are giving you is the lyrics.
Hmm.
Those are the strongest moments.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense because as a celebrity now, what I think people connect with is she's incredibly open about her struggles. I mean, she's
Right.
disclosed that she's bipolar, that she has to eat a gluten-free diet because she's gluten intolerant. Like all these things that people like I think who are younger see themselves dealing with or see their
Yeah.
friends dealing with, she's open about. So
Yeah.
when she's opening up about her life, people are going to connect with that a little bit more than when she's trying to make this next great like radio hit.
Bipolar, bisexual, biracial.
Right.
She's kind of got it all for 2020. I don't think she always gets into that kind of stuff though, which I think is a little disappointing. Like I know sometimes her comments on LGBTQ
Mhm.
issues leave a lot to be desired to the community. It is what it is. Um, but this album's going to be really big. It looks like she's going to do close to 200,000 units, including 110 to 160,000 sales. Granted, there was a tour bundle included in that calculation. But yeah, it's her best work, no doubt about that.
She's evolving as an artist moving forward. I think she's only like 25 or
25
26.
years old, yeah.
So both her and Selena going to be around and dominating for a while, I would assume.